One of my ex-wife's crazy schemes was that we share our house with a gorilla. And she said that goldfish, well, you can't engage with a goldfish. And cats are too needy. And dogs are too stupid. So we got the gorilla. His name is Dr. Bernardo. And I pretty soon found out that, particularly in the dark, he was pretty good company. When he was really calm, and we could just sit and relax with a drink. Which was just as well, because my wife soon left me. And at the door she said, well, you won't be lonely because you've got the kid and the monkey. But it soon began to pall when the gorilla started spending more and more time in his own space upstairs and not wanting to play cards with me and hang out. So I was left with the mindless yabber of a 5-year-old child in my ear 24/7. And we were watching one day the CBBC TV program with a fat guy pretending to be a clown but too vain to put makeup on his face. And a hairy arm came out of the TV. And in a swift movement, grabbed Martin. I pulled him into the TV through the screen. And I jumped up in a fright, and I didn't know what to do because I'd heard of this sort of thing happening before, and I didn't agree with it to any extent. And I could hear Martin's cries upstairs and on the first floor, and I went up the stairs or halfway, and I could see that the whole of the upstairs had become a jungle, an impenetrable jungle. And I couldn't get my hands on my own child. To his screams and the gorilla's snorts and chest-beating triumph, I couldn't get my son back. And I didn't know what to do, and you can't call the council. And I phoned Randy Skellings, who I served in Vietnam with, because I thought he would know what to do. He always had my back, and in situations of grievous danger, he would know what to do. And I phoned him and I said, I'm going to fly you over here, however much it costs. I'll pay all the expenses that it'll take to get you over here, Randy. You got to help me out. Martin has a syndrome, which 2 or 3 of the doctors at Great Orange Street are fighting over. They all want to name it, and they won't share the name rights. And so we don't know what it is. Now, you know the Down syndrome child, they have 1 chromosome too many. That's what defines them. But in Martin's case, he has his chromosomes on the outside of his body. Which has made life so difficult when you can't even hug your own child. It's so hard. I've taken to leaving my back door open because I got a fox in the garden. He's called Stan. And he said he's really hungry because he's training for the Olympics. And then I gotta help him. And I leave the door open so he can come in and help himself from the icebox. And one day I left my back door open as usual, and I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of what he did, but a swan flew in the back door. He had a saddle on his back, and he had a tiny little baby riding it. And it came in and flew around my house, and I knocked over some porcelain figurines from the shelf, and my dancing trophies got damaged. And they settled down eventually, but it was an uncomfortable situation. And I was watching TV, and I lost concentration. Anyway, pretty soon after they came in and they alighted on the carpet, and the baby's crying, and I don't know what to do with babies. I'm all past that. And a hand came out of the TV. And it wasn't a hairy hand. I could see the twinkling of the chromosomes on the arm. And it was my son who reached out of the TV. And he strangled the swan with one hand. And he took the baby by the neck and pulled him into the TV. And I've been watching the Jewelry Channel, and I've been about to bid for this 1 carat sapphire and ruby mounting with all the stones on a really nice ring, and they only had 3 left, and the price had gone down as far as I think it was gonna go down. It was the time to buy, but the program just went off, and I was left watching my own son tearing a baby into small pieces and feeding it to a gorilla upstairs in the jungle. That was hard. The next day, my friend Randy Skillings came. He came as fast as he could. He's such a good guy, and he came in. We had a manly hug, and he opened his trunk and he showed me cans of Agent Orange. And we were going to deal with this situation. We were going to get to the heart of it. We were going to go into the heart of darkness upstairs, and I was going to get my son back and kick the monkey's ass for him. So 3 days later, we made a plan that the operation would take place 3 days later when we could be sure we could think straight, because we were bound to have hangovers and stuff like that. And on the day of the mission, D-Day, we call it D-Day, to make it official. On the day of the mission, there was this frantic banging at the door. I didn't know who. I wasn't expecting anybody. It sounded like officialdom. There was a banging and a banging and a banging, and I opened the door and looked out, and it was Bono with a clipboard. I wondered what he was doing at my house, and he said, "Out of the way, you motherfucking piece of shit. I come to save the rainforest." And this guy behind him came out, and he was like a heavy-looking guy, craggy-looking guy, dressed in this tribal stuff, you know, with beads and fringes, and a colored diaper, and like a drinks coaster in his lower lip. And this guy, he came up to me and he broke all my fingers. And I looked around for my backup, Randy Skillings, and he was grinning like an idiot, holding out an autograph book and a pen to Bono. And this tribal guy went fucking bananas. He got all the Agent Orange and he just threw it upstairs in a frenzy and said that is where that is going, he said. And all the cans opened and there were valves on which were operated by the impact of the cans on the stairs, and enough Agent Orange was released into our house in the upstairs to clear Borneo. And I, in the end, was confronted with my son, looking pale and thin, and he was crying, and the monkey had like a child's arm hanging out of the corner of his mouth. And I had to face the fact that my son, you know, was a murderer, and the gorilla was only an accessory. He was only a feeder. It was my son that had done all the heinous deed. And I had to face that, and I had to deal with it, and I wouldn't abandon him. And he's my flesh and blood, and I couldn't condone what he'd done, and I couldn't understand it, but it was my job to make it right. And so I thought, well, I've got to do the best I can, and you do the best. You do the best you can for your kids. Always do the best you can for your kids, and if there's one lesson that you need to know, you do the best for your kids. And so I thought, Martin, we're going to engage John Kelsey Fry to defend you in a court of law, because he's the best. He is the best lawyer in the country. I mean, he is the guy that got Harry Redknapp, you know, the football coach. He got him off of his crime. Now, Harry Redknapp had sexual intercourse with a horse in a horse box at Goodwood Race Course, and he was found naked in the horse box. There were pictures that the Daily Mail printed, and there were pictures of actual penetration in the horse, and he was guilty. But John Kelsey Fry just got him off on a number of technicalities, and the man's a genius. And if anybody could save my son from just incarceration for the rest of his life, it was John Kelsey Fry. And I went to see John Kelsey Fry, and I said, look, I need to hire you because I know you're the best. And it's not just like a recommendation or anything, because I've read about you and I know that you're the best, and I only feel safe with you, and I don't want anyone else. I don't want like some court-appointed lawyer that's not gonna go the whole 9 yards. And I said, I want to hire you. And he said, well, I'm sorry, I can't take the case. And I said, what the fuck do you mean? You know, have you no compassion? Do you not have children of your own that you look after? You know, you do the best for your kids, right? You know, I'm Mr. Kelsey Fry, sir, listen to me now. I used to make out to your song. You know the song? You know, that's love. I used to make out to that song. You know, you were the guy, and you're the guy now. Please help me. And in that moment, just before he pressed the button, which sent me through a trapdoor into the cellars below, he said, I can't take your case. I've already been hired by the gorilla. Pro bono. Thank you.